Captain Francis Pike leads his team across the Arctic tundra. In the distance, they can see the city of Audapaupadopolis. It floats 7.8 kilometers above the ground and is filled with mysteries and treasures beyond even the Foundation's wildest dreams. It is September of 1933 when the SCP Foundation first catches winds of something odd going on in the Arctic. A British airman named Sir George Danson flies over the North Sea heading to Norway. After he lands in Oslo, Danson begins ranting about a floating city. The Foundation immediately disseminates contradictory information and manipulates the story to include that Danson had been drinking during his flight. So everything he is saying is probably the result of a drunken hallucination. While SCP agents spread lies, the Foundation immediately launches an investigation. The team that is sent to the Arctic confirms what Danson claims to have seen. There is indeed a floating city there. Now Captain Pike and his team stare at the island in the sky as their hot air balloons are filled behind them. The Arctic wind whips up small snow tornadoes as the temperature plummets. The balloons are ready, and Pike orders his men to board. They lift off from the ground and pull their parka hoods over their heads to protect them from the Arctic blasts at high altitudes. Pike and his team slowly drift over the city of Audapaupadopolis. When they are somewhat in the middle of the floating island, the hot air balloons are lowered and the team lands without incident. To their surprise, the exploratory team finds that the floating city has its own microclimate, which is much more pleasant than the frigid Arctic. They remove their winter gear. "Proceed with caution," Pike tells his men. "We have no idea what we're going to find in the city." The architecture is clearly old, but not exactly like anything on Earth today. It seems to be a conglomerate of ancient Mesopotamian design mixed with the design features of several other cultures. Many of the buildings that line the stone streets are crumbling, and the city overall is in ruins. Pike leads his team down a series of roads. Scientists photograph and take notes of the city for Foundation records. SCP agents check around every corner to make sure there is nothing hiding in the shadows. The team comes to a crossroads. "Halt!" Pike shouts. Standing in front of them is an old man with long gray hair and a white beard. He seems to be of Middle Eastern descent. "Hello, friends," the old man says. "Welcome to Audapaupadopolis. I am the caretaker of the city. I've been expecting you. Please follow me." The old man turns around and proceeds down the causeway. Pike hesitates for a moment. "Stay alert," he whispers to the agents behind him. Then he begins to follow the old man down the street. As Pike walks, he takes in the grandeur that the city once held. The roads are as wide as the main avenues back in London, while the buildings, although in shambles, still retain some of their ancient beauty. Pike begins to walk a little faster to catch up with the old man. "What happened here?" he asks. The man turns his head. "All will be revealed soon, Francis Pike. Just be patient." "How do you know my name?" asks Pike. The old man smiles. They turn another corner and in front of them is the Grand Hall. It seems to have survived whatever catastrophe befell the rest of the city. Pike stops and stares up at the massive structure with his mouth ajar. "Come," says the old man, as he motions the SCP team to follow him up the steps into the main hall. "Let's eat." The old man prepares a simple meal, but one that fills the stomachs and satisfies Pike and his men. At the conclusion of the meal, Captain Pike approaches the mysterious man. "I feel like you deserve an explanation as to who we are and why we're here," Pike says. The old man raises his hand. "You are from the Foundation," he replies. "I already know about the Foundation and you, Francis Pike. I have been waiting for you to arrive for a long time. There are things I need to show you in the city. There are old secrets and ancient relics from the past that you were sent here to learn about." Pike looks at the man and squints. "What are you talking about? How could you know we were coming? And what relics are you referring to exactly?" The old man grins and places a hand on Captain Pike's shoulder. Pike feels a longing emotion well up inside of him. It's as if he has been waiting for this moment his whole life. "Come," says the old man. "You and your men need rest." He shows Pike and the exploration team to several rooms down the hallway where they can set up for the night. The rooms are large and comfortable. "Sleep well, Francis Pike. Tomorrow I have much to show you." The old man leaves the room and proceeds down the hallway to his small, humble chamber. The next morning, Pike and the other SCP agents are greeted by the rising sun and the old man waiting for them on the steps of the Grand Hall. He leads them through the city. "There are 3 temples I wish to show you," the old man says to Pike.
You will notice that their architecture and imagery differ from most of the other structures in the city. Make sure you listen very carefully, Francis Pike, as what you're about to learn could save the universe, or perhaps destroy it."
Pike is speechless. All he can do is nod his head. The old man leads the SCP agents to the middle of the city where the 3 temples reside. Each one has its own unique iconography and style. The art seems to reflect important events in history or subjects that hold significance in the past. The old man proceeds to walk towards the first temple. Upon entering the structure, there is a mural of 2 naked people watching the horizon from a tree line. Behind them are a wolf and bear that seem to be protectively standing guard. Directly opposite of this picture is a painting of a figure holding a flaming sword on a hill. As Pike and his team enter the main hall, they are welcomed by a gigantic mural depicting the sun rising over Audapaupadopolis.
"This is where the Temple of Sunrise gets its name,"
the old man says, gesturing to the mural on the far wall. Below the sunrise is a golden man holding a spear with a silver point. He wears a shining crown. Pike can't help but notice that the man in the mural looks similar to their guide, just a lot younger.
Perhaps it's his son or a relative,
Pike thinks to himself. Above the sunrise is a dragon with green eyes. Engraved across the dragon's body are the words, "They will know what is." The other walls contain images of the same golden man. In one picture, he stands at the foot of a throne with a naked woman wrapped in snakes behind him. On another, the golden man sits on the throne with an iron crown hovering above his head. Behind him are monoliths of 5 figures. One is made of gears and steel. Another is made of flesh and blood. The third is made of ice and stone. The fourth is made of stars. And the final is made of eyes. The SCP agents in the room begin to buzz with excitement. They start recording everything they see.
"We must continue on,"
the old man says.
"There isn't much time left."
Pike nods and orders a small team to stay behind to continue documenting the Temple of Sunrise. The next building they enter is the Temple of Sunset. Within the walls are maps of different towns and landscapes. One of the maps is Audapaupadopolis itself. The words, "The Lands of Men," are scrolled over the map in the entry hall. The old man stops at the opening to the main gallery.
"Prepare yourself, Francis Pike. What you are about to witness will not be pleasant."
They head into the next room where the temperature immediately shoots up.
"What the hell is producing all of that heat?"
Pike asks. There is nothing but crumbling walls and fallen columns visible in the room. One of the scientists hollers from the back of the group.
"Jesus! Sir, I think you need to take a look at this!"
He walks up to Pike and hands him a pair of thermal imaging goggles. Pike puts them on.
"Damn,"
Pike mutters. With the thermal lenses on, he can now see a massive humanoid entity lying dead on the floor. His body is so large that it covers the murals on 3 of the walls. Pike notices that the temperature in the room is still continuing to increase as the dead giant is radiating heat. The Foundation classifies the entity as SCP-4840-B. It has 6 arms and 6 legs, each connected by metal chains to iron flails at the end. A sigil has been brandished into the middle of the entity's chest.
"What is that?"
Pike asks. The old man just shakes his head.
"One of the many who have fallen,"
he responds. The old man points to the only wall that is not blocked by the massive body of SCP-4840-B and frowns. The golden man is depicted here as well. Pike can't help but feel there is some sort of connection between Audapaupadopolis, the old man, and the golden figure he keeps seeing in the murals. In the Temple of Sunset, the golden man sits atop a white horse with his iron crown resting on his head. Behind him is a massive army of men and women, holding axes and swords. Across from the golden man and his army are legions of green and gray figures with 6 eyes dressed in brilliantly colored clothing. An intense lightning storm appears to be amassing in the distance. Captain Pike looks up to the ceiling to see it covered in stars. However, he does not recognize any of the constellations.
"Is the golden man I keep seeing you?"
But before Pike can finish his question, the old man cuts him off.
"We must be going!"
He turns and exits the temple. Pike does not want to push the old man. He seems to be a wealth of knowledge, and the only way to learn more about Audapaupadopolis and what it all means. They exit the Temple of Sunset and continue to the final structure in the middle of the city. The old man leads Pike and the rest of the SCP agents to the smallest temple of the 3. He stops just outside of the doorway.
"This is the Temple of the Night,"
he proclaims.
"What you see on the surface is deceiving. This temple goes deep underground. It contains a labyrinth of passages that one could get lost in forever, so please be careful."
"Are you coming?" Pike asks.
"No,"
responds the old man.
"I do not enter the Temple of Night. I have my reasons, which do not concern you."
Pike nods, and then signals his men to follow him into the temple. He notices that many of the murals in the passageways and rooms of the Temple of Night depict the same image of a massive tree in the middle of a vast forest. In each instance of the tree, there seem to be red lights surrounding the base, human-like figures hanging from its branches, and structures wrapped in vines surrounding the trunk. The hallways are illuminated by some unknown light source. It is as if torches line the walls and give off a dull yellowish glow, but there is no fire to be seen. Embedded in the walls are sarcophagi, with intricate carvings in their stone casings. Pike can't help but notice scratching sounds coming from within the sarcophagi, as if someone, or something, is trying to claw its way out. The exploration team reaches the innermost chamber of the temple. There is a staircase in the middle of the room that descends below the floor. However, its entrance is covered by rubble from a collapsed wall. Suddenly, an SCP agent runs up to Captain Pike. "Sir, I think you should see this." Pike follows the man back through a series of twists and turns. He stops at a closed door. The Foundation seal is carved into the wood. It seems as if the carving has been there for a long time, which is impossible since they are the first SCP team to explore the city of Audapaupadopolis. The agent pushes open the door and Pike steps in. He is astonished by what he finds. It seems he has been transported to an abandoned Foundation site. All of the lights are off, but he can tell that it is some kind of central command center due to the screens and setup of the space. Painted in black block letters on one of the walls is Site 000000. Pike quickly exits back through the entryway and shuts the door behind him. He looks at the SCP agent who brought him into the room.
"Secure this door and make sure no one gets in or comes out. Do I make myself clear?"
Pike orders his men to exit the temple. After everyone comes out, Captain Pike walks over to the old man who is sitting on the steps outside.
"Did you find what you were looking for, Francis Pike?"
the old man asks. Captain Pike shakes his head. He stares down, eyes wide, at the stone steps of the temple.
"I see," says the old man. "I have something else to show you, Francis Pike."
The old man leads Pike to the grand hall that they had slept in the night before. He brings him through a series of passageways and down a staircase. They stop in front of a large door.
"Open it,"
the old man whispers. Captain Francis Pike walks up to the door and pushes it open. On the other side is endless darkness, from which he hears his own voice speaking to him through the ether. Pike begins to walk towards the darkness. The old man places his hand on Pike's shoulder and pulls him back. Then he shuts the door.
"The light of the world has long since left that place, and mortal man can no longer walk it," says the old man. "I needed to show it to you as a warning. Things are not always what they seem, Francis Pike."
That night, Pike lies awake staring at the ceiling of the grand hall, thinking about the old man. He sits up and begins jotting down his thoughts. In his official report, he identifies the old man as SCP-4840-A, but in his journal, he can't help but refer to him as a friend. There is something about the old man, something special. Pike knows there is much more to his story, and the story of the Flying City of Audapaupadopolis. Now watch SCP-001 Ouroboros Cycle, the full story compilation SCP Animation, or check out SCP-5000Y, the full story compilation SCP Animation.